Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are doing something very exciting. I am going to be attempting to put together the largest table I have ever done. And I'm going to be doing it using only interior terrain pieces from LV427. And I'm going to be creating the Death Star. The Death Star, that's right. We're trying to put together a Star Wars Legion interior battle. And we're trying to make the Death Star. Can I do it? Let me know what you think down in the comments. This is going to be a very, very large project. I'm going to be using the largest table I have access to and trying to put together as many pieces of this awesome interior modular terrain together as I can. I love looking at terrain. I love trying to picture the battlefield, how it's going to go together. Oftentimes I feel like assembling the battlefield is half the fun because you get to kind of tell a story before the game is even started, before you even know who's going to play on this battlefield. And doing interior battles is a very rare thing that doesn't happen often in Star Wars Legion, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit as the video goes on because I think it requires a special approach, and both you and your opponent need to know that you're going to be doing interior battles beforehand. And I think this is just a great way to kind of test your design space and see where it goes. And this is just a really fun part of the game for me and gaming in general. I love terrain, I love reviewing terrain, I love talking about terrain. So with all that being said, let's just dive right in. I'm going to showcase some of the modular bits and show you a little bit about how this LV427 terrain works. And then we're going to just start putting it all together. All right, so this is the basic tile. This is a four-way junction, and the idea of what we are going to do really comes down to something like this. This is about a 6-inch by 6-inch square, and we'll be able to use multiples of these to join together to create an interlocking system of tunnels, corridors, and rooms that are going to create the basis for our station. So what we can do is we can bring multiples together from various different styles, sizes. Well, there are different sizes, although most of them are going to fit into this particular size. Some of them are going to be, two-way, where they have two hardened walls on each of the sides, and some of them are going to be four-way. There's three ways. There's end points, so this can be kind of like a dead end, and we can just create an entire story and a network of tunnels by doing this. Now these work really well with characters from Star Wars Legion. You're able to fit lots of different troopers in these corridors. I've got a couple of bounty hunters in here right now. Although if you're doing interior battles, I think there's some different changes you're gonna have to make depending on the game that you play. One of the changes I think you're gonna have to make is that you probably want to restrict it to troopers only. While I can fit Mandalorian on there, Stormtroopers on there, and lots of individual troopers, I'm gonna have a harder time fitting snow speeders and tanks and things like that inside these interior corridors. And so I think you have to adjust your rules for your army building beforehand and make it troopers only. I think you also need to allow for doors to open and close. We're going to put some doors in here that are going to slide in between these room junctions that can both allow them to be open and closed, maybe allow characters to take a free action once per activation to open and close a door. But also we need to treat the walls as if they go all the way up. I can't allow Mando and his jetpack to sort of jump from one room across to the other because it's not just a wall that's, 8 feet high in this world. It's actually a fully enclosed room, and we need to treat it as such. So there's going to be cases where you have to say, no, these walls go all the way up. You can't actually use Darth Vader's, force pull, one pip command card to rip somebody into a different room. Even though on an outdoor battle, you would be able to do that, you have to kind of treat the walls as, basically treat it as though it has a ceiling that you are just playing God and looking down through. And I think that's not too hard to be able to do, as long as you and your opponent understand that you're playing a slightly different kind of game. So now let's go ahead and bring a couple of these sets together. And this is one of the things I've been doing too. I've done a little bit with these before, but I've been painting these up, trying to put a little bit of interior details on some of these, painting some of the wall panels and dials and little blinker lights and stuff like that. Not everything has a whole lot of paint on it, but I wanted to have everything kind of have a different feel, different types of tiles to have a different personality to them, and I want to see it all come together. So we are starting with an awful lot. I've got a very large bin full of these that are already primed and painted and ready to go. There's some pretty interesting ones in here. I've posted some pictures to social media lately of some test setups, but we're not stopping there because I've got a whole nother bin that I had done in a different batch. So these are a little bit less shiny, but still in roughly the same kind of idea of doing a lot of the different pieces to give all of the rooms a little bit of life, give them a little bit of personality, and have some real fun with this. Again, really cool stuff from LV427. Links will be in the description below. Now my table, just for reference, my table is 80 inches long and 55.5 inches wide, or vice versa. So it's, and these inserts come out. So if I could have a 6x4 play area inside, I could take these leaves out, but I think I'm gonna go bigger than 6x4. I've already used one of these bins to do a pretty large battle, but I think I can go much bigger and maybe fill up most of this table, which is way larger than I think any interior battle would end up being. So here we are, just kind of loading up everything from the first bin onto the table, and already one of the challenges is becoming apparent in that it is very difficult to get everything sorted out. I'm starting to put together the elevator section here. This one goes together in an octagonal kind of pattern, and because it's an octagon, it doesn't line up perfectly to everything else that is more square oriented. So there are some shorter pieces that help those diagonal connectors come out and kind of be able to bridge into the rest of the sections. But still, getting one room started is clearly the way to go. You have to just start in a corner and then kind of work your way out. The prison section is now coming together, but as you can see, like, the rest of the pieces are just scattered all over the place. And there's a lot of times where I'll set something up here and I'll have to just go back and change it and say, you know what, this actually, I need to move this down, I need to move this around, should I have used a 4-way connector here, should I have used a 3-way connector here? And this is part of the fun of it. So we're getting to the middle of the table here, and this is always scary because I'm like, if I bridge out too far and then I find out that I made a mistake, am I gonna have to move, am I gonna have to adjust all of these pieces? And this happens multiple times, as you're gonna see, but having to adjust multiple pieces and having to shift like your whole table down like an inch because you made a mistake early on, and it just sort of propagated throughout your whole design. This is just fun. Now there is, I believe LV427 has an app where you can kind of, virtually kind of plan this stuff out, which is really cool. But at the same time, it's kind of like when you're just playing with your toys. It's kind of like if you ever pulled out all your Lego and just started putting them together, that's sort of the sensation here. So this is still just the first bin. And it's already taken up a lot of the table. And now I'm starting on bin number 2. You can kind of tell these pieces are a little bit darker, but they still really fit the whole theme. And I'm just pulling out pieces, trying to fit them in, and I'm hoping at this point that the initial setup works and I have enough room for everything else. But one of the problems I'm realizing is that in the bottom right corner, I'm starting to set up the docking bay, and the docking bay is a very large open area, and I'm going to have to shift some things around. And there's a couple of larger open areas. There's a big comms area. There's the big kind of docking, or the trash compactor kind of area. And so there are a lot of larger areas. So there's going to be a lot of adjustments that I'm having to make as I put this out, because I think bin number 1 is technically a little bit larger, but bin number 2 has bigger rooms and they require more space. So there's a lot of adjustments that get made here. And as you see, the bottom right corner is just a mess as I am scrambling to try to shift everything out to make the docking bay fit
And one of the ways I'm doing that is I'm taking all of the garbage chute kind of trash compactor area. I believe it's actually an alien contaminated type of tiles, but it's starting to come together now. We're shifting some things around in the middle. This was a big shift and a big adjustment that I've made over here, and it is definitely all starting to fill out little by little. The docking bay is starting to come together, and I've got pieces just still stacked all over the place, pieces stacked on top of pieces, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel at this point. I think now this is all fast forwarded. I want to say this took me about 2 hours of setup and planning, and then redoing and redesigning, and it's all been really cool. But it's nice that it finally came together.
All right, so we have the Death Star built. And there are a few empty spots, but that's a necessary part of everything. But this really did take up the entire table. We've definitely got more tiles too. If I had a bigger table, I couldn't fit a whole nother row here. They're already kind of tiptoeing off the edge on the other side. I'm gonna walk you through some of the different rooms here and some of the different themes. And this is just really cool. So starting off, we have the hangar bay, which again, we've put some extra scatter pieces of terrain in. It's a very big, wide open area, and this is also one that can have higher walls. So if you do have jump capabilities or jetpacks or Jedi and want to get high ground, this is a great room to do that. It's a great room to have objectives. We've got this kind of alien infected kind of parts, but I kind of think of this as sort of the garbage chute area, and it takes up a little bit of the edges because it was just a good filler, because there's a lot of pieces of it, and it works well to kind of fill out the edges that don't necessarily need to connect to anything else. We have a control room here. We've got these are again more movable pieces of terrain, war boards. That's gonna be a planning room. We've got a lot of corridors with like fuel tubes and electrostatic rods and canisters. A little escape pod area right there. We've got the conference room. This is where you see Grand Moff Tarkin and Admiral Mahdi and Darth Vader come in and do that. We can add more chairs or remove chairs. This whole piece can come out. So very cool stuff. I like that one. We have kind of an all-purpose room right here. This one can be anything we can drop. There's lots of extra pieces of generators and scatter terrain we can put in here. I believe this one was for a cryogenesis room, but that one didn't fit the theming for the Death Star, so I left that one out. We've got some extra hallways going down this way. We've got sort of a medical bay over here, some crew quarters over this way. But I want to go back around and walk you through a lot of our other storage rooms, some computer console rooms, to the elevator. The elevator is really cool. So the elevator has a door that opens, but also you can take the elevator out. You can slide out and teleport. So if you have multiples of these, it can go somewhere else, which is really cool. But also you can pick this whole part up and just treat it as a sort of hexagonal, octagonal room. I can count to 6 and 8. So a very cool flexibility with this room. But the cool thing about the elevator is it leads to the prison cell. I mentioned that we also have this little area over here that kind of looks like that could be tractor beam control. We have these doors that we can drop in and take out. We've got cell blocks over here. We could find Princess Leia in there, and we have a couple of cell blocks. So this also works really well for like a role-playing game if you want to have a prison break. And we've got like a dead-end corridor over here. You could maybe have this be a teleport to the garbage chute on a lower level. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do with this. Maybe I'll populate it a little bit more and give you guys another overview of the entire thing. This is massive. All right, we've populated it a little bit more now. We've got some stormtroopers in the docking bay. We've got a stormtrooper over here in this corridor as well. We've got a little astromech over here. In our planning room, we've got an officer in there. We've got some droids and a technician kind of doing some work in our big room here. We got General Veers and another Imperial officer. Also populating the area. What would a Death Star be without the Emperor's throne room, of course? So I decided to put that in the general purpose area. So we have the limited edition Star Wars Legion, the Emperor's throne room scene, which is certainly a fun one to throw in here. Of course, we couldn't have a Death Star without that. We're gonna make our way over to the medical bay. We do have a medical droid in there. We have a couple of interesting things in the cell blocks. We do have some Wookiees that I decided to put in jail, that they're ready to be freed. I figured that that was appropriate. We have another officer here, another stormtrooper and a guard. And who is gonna break them out? But is that Crabbok with nunchucks, lightsaber nunchucks, and of course Grogu helping him out? Yes, I'm writing my own narrative for this one, and we're having a really good time. So this has been a really, really fun, a whole lot of stuff to put together. This took a long time. Very cool stuff though. Let me know what you guys think. And if you want to check any of this out, you can jump into the description below. You can also jump into Discord and keep the discussion going there. There's lots of links in the video description below, and Patreon and all of that good stuff. We definitely appreciate it. There's a whole lot more you could do. If I had a bigger table, I could put even more together. This would be really fun for a convention to do a good, like maybe eight or nine player like objectives, or seize the middle, or try to take out the Emperor, and everybody's different strike teams landing in different corners, and roaming monsters, or all kinds of cool stuff. The possibilities are endless. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes, and always wash your socks.